I want to thank everyone for coming out, for being a part of what we're trying to do here in the city of Newark, for taking a risk and seeing for yourself what we plan to do, what I'm about, what I'm thinking, what's in my head, and what's in the head of thousands of Newarkers in this city every single day. I know some of you had to probably hurdle a lot of misconceptions to get here today. You had to sidestep a few minds that ideas that you heard about Ras Baraka, and and as you can see, let me just step out of here. I'm not green. I don't have horns, and I got my security right here. He told me at the beginning he was strong, so that's why I got him in the front. But just all of the misconceptions. I don't breathe fire. I'm not going to shut downtown down, close every charter school in the city of Newark. These are the kinds of things that I hear from people in this community who have been fed a dose of things that just are completely fictitious. And really, as a Newarker, all my life and my family, all of our lives in this city has been completely and totally dedicated to making this city a better place, a more inclusive place for all of its citizens, a more economically viable place for the residents, a place that offers jobs to everyone in this community, where people can thrive, where their families can thrive. That's basically what we've been fighting for. There's one thing that you probably heard that's true, that Baraka is a fighter. That's true. I fought for the disengaged, to the overlooked, the left out, folks that needed jobs and employment, the most difficult to hire, the most difficult to teach. I fought for better jobs and increased wages. I fought for all kinds of things that involve the residents of this community. But I'm also a fighter, and will be a fighter, to see the growth of this city. And the growth of this city includes you. So when we say we believe in Newark, or I believe in Newark, we're also talking about you. When I say, when I become the mayor, we become the mayor, I think people have had kind of discussion about what that means, we become the mayor. So maybe they think that does not include them. But when I say we become mayor, it includes everybody in this room. Every person that's interested in the economic vitality and the growth of this city, that have business here, that live here, that have family here, that do nonprofit work here in the city. Every individual in this community is a part of that. And I think that Newark is starved for that kind of leadership. Starved for the leadership that includes everyone, and not just the leadership that includes some people, or folks that I agree with, or people that I'm friends with, or individuals that I like, but all of us. Earlier today I had the wonderful opportunity to sit down with Chancellor Clear and talk about some issues surrounding prison, pre-entry as he calls it, as opposed to re-entry, a wealth of information and knowledge sharing back and forth about the role that the universities can play in the economic growth of this city was very encouraging to me, very exciting to me about what can happen in this city. So those are the kind of things that I want to do all the time. Those are the kind of things that I think the city is missing. An executive officer that listens to the people of this community, not just the residents of this community, but the business leaders in this community, the university leaders in this community, the philanthropic organizations, the private sector, that listens to them, not just out of some perfunctory kind of task, but listens to them because he understands that collectively, that their input means that this city moves forward. And without their input, the city goes nowhere. So we've had a lot of dreams about where Newark is going and have not really been able to go as far as we want to go. So people are afraid that the progress that we're witnessing now, because we are witnessing some progress in the city. We are witnessing some growth in this community. We're witnessing some unprecedented even growth in some areas in these communities. And those things must continue, and they must go on. But we want them to go on in a kind of coordinated and organized and managed fashion that not only do they grow, but they expand, and it includes more people, and that more people are employed, that the city grows to a point where it's less being this kind of local place to a more regional and global city. That's what I believe. That's what I see. I see Newark as a regional city, not just as this local place where people say, we're the most unfriendly city. Newark is a beautiful place, so it's also a part, an incredible place. I would invite those people to come into this meeting and see the enormity of the kind of the friendliness that exists in this room here today. But I see Newark as a part of Elizabeth, as a part of Jersey City, as a part of the growing areas around the city, as a part of Irvington and East Orange. Those things, Newark is a regional city with a port that makes it also an international city, a global city that we benefit from. That when the port expands, we expand. That our businesses expand. Newark has about 400 small manufacturing companies that can be considered small businesses. The Brookings Institute just did a study on the manufacturing industry in the city of Newark. 400 industries that are basically struggling on their own, right? And have not been able to be attached to the kind of intelligence that Newark has through its universities, the economic support and help and guidance that it should have in terms of finding new markets, inland and internationally, how to expand its manufacturing base, how to not just find new markets, but develop IT, how to develop repair, how to do different things to engineer their companies so that they begin to have better practices and better output. You know, those are the things that they have to have access to. And why shouldn't they? We have all of these universities in the city, and they should have access to that. Some cities don't have that. We do. So there's no reason that those jobs or those small businesses should not expand. And when they expand, it means more jobs for Newarkers. Labor-intensive jobs for Newarkers. We're talking about thousands of jobs. Not 50 jobs, not 100 jobs here, 100 jobs there. We're talking about thousands of jobs. You have 400 manufacturers. They hire 10 people. You could do the math. If we get them to hire 20 people, do the math. We get them to hire 200 people. We could do the math on that. We have to be about the development of those small businesses. Why? My kind of plan, and I'm sure you probably got this, and hopefully you read it, or are in the process of reading it, is different than this whole kind of top-down mentality. Because I can't fix anything by myself, right? We cannot watch the city grow from the seat of the mayor's office. We cannot watch the city develop from the second floor of City Hall, right? The city has to grow and develop organically from the communities and people and the businesses out here that are struggling trying to do that. Our job in City Hall is to make that easier. To make it easier for small businesses to expand, to make it easier for immigrant businesses to come and navigate City Hall, to put them in touch with the university so they can develop human capital and make their business smarter, more efficient, better. You know, put them in touch with the seaport, put them in touch with other manufacturers so they can begin to grow and trade. That's our job. Not that they develop, they're on their own out here on an island somewhere trying to make sure that their business fail or succeed, or they're struggling in City Hall trying to get permits done, trying to do the basic things that businesses should learn how to do. Our job is to make sure that those things are easier for them and make sure those things happen. I also don't believe in this kind of, external to internal growth in the city. While I believe that we need to attract as many businesses as possible, the big box industries and all these other things, we need to attract as many corporations as we possibly can, and that's helpful to the city. But I think the city only really moves when we move inside out, when we begin to grow small business here in the city, when we begin to produce or incubate new businesses, when we begin to develop high-tech jobs. The Milken Institute told us that when you develop high-tech jobs, that you develop 2 professional jobs and 3 non-professional jobs that we use in universities to begin to spin off new businesses in our city, to use the technological infrastructure that we have in the city to create these kind of businesses. If you look at the cities in America that have witnessed the most economic growth, they're not the cities that we think of. They're not New York, they're not Chicago, they're not Boston. They're places like Houston and San Antonio and Denver, like Las Vegas. These kinds of places that are using high-tech jobs, not in social media or in entertainment or the things that we would normally think, gaming and websites. They're using high-tech jobs around manufacturing. That's what we have in Newark, manufacturing, and a seaport that's growing. So we are primed to be involved in that. They're using high-tech jobs around medicine and medical technology. We have 2 major medical institutions in this city. We have the opportunity to do those things. In fact, we're having discussions now about the distribution of energy in this city. We're having discussions now about the creation of windmills at the watershed and all of the lands that we own. So we have everything we need, all of the resources here. What we don't have is the pieces or the people in place that create synergy, that connects all of those pieces together to make sure that we're operating like a well-oiled machine. And I said earlier, Newark is growing. It's growing like this in different directions. So it's growing here, growing there, growing here, and growing there. Our job is to get it to grow uniformly, get it to grow together, that we benefit, that there's a plan for our growth. Not just grow haphazardly, or we lucky, we roll a dice and we witness growth. We plan growth. We plan the kind of economic upsurge that we need. And we have to tie our school system into that. Right now, we have a school to prison pipeline. And it's being talked about, not just Newark, all over the country. School, that means kids go to Carver, then they go to Weekway, and then they go to Annandale. Or they go to Maple Avenue School, then Central High School, and then they go to Rawway. And we need to change that, right? So kids should go to Carver, then Weekway, then NJIT, right? They should go to Maple, then Central, then Rutgers University, right? And not only that, that we tie that in, like there's a deliberate kind of road that we set up between the corporate institutions in this community, the universities and the schools, where there's training that's going on to prepare kids for the market that is out there for them, the jobs that exist, and grow these jobs so our kids can be there. Not just prepare them for jobs, but also create an atmosphere where they're developing their own jobs, where they're becoming entrepreneurs and involving themselves, not in just sports and entertainment and video programming and gaming and website, but in the things that are cutting edge in America's economy and the growth. Manufacturing and trade is number 1. It's probably one of the number 1 growth sectors, one of the largest growth sectors in this country. Manufacturing and trade, medicine, arts and entertainment. We need to prepare our kids for this. Something as simple as nursing that's in this thing. That the fact that there's a starvation for nurses in the city means that we have to begin to produce nurses in our schools to meet the economy. We don't just say, oh, we're going to do whatever we can, or our WIB board or One Stop is just training people in jobs that don't exist. You have to train people in the jobs that exist and in jobs that we know are coming, because we are inviting these jobs here and they're growing in our city, and we're preparing our children for those jobs and the people in our community for those jobs. I know people want me to talk about crime and they want me to talk about education, and I agree with that. I think crime and education are tantamount to any city being successful. But they, in and of themselves, to me, don't work. So they have to be tied directly into economic growth. The fact that we need to create jobs and economic vitality in the city demands that we have a more educated workforce. Demands that we begin to train our children at younger age. Demands that we have a more literate population. Demands that we have a plethora of schools that are training kids, not just academically, but technologically, to meet the needs of what's happening in Newark. It demands that. It also demands that we have safer communities. It demands that we have a community approach to crime, not just an individual police chase criminals approach to crime. That we have a community approach to crime, and that we begin to drive crime down by feeding people with jobs and economic vitality. That's the base of it. So it's not just about growing the police force, it's about growing the economic base and employment so that we can diminish the desire to do crime. And all of those things are related. All of those things are related. So when you hear me talk about crime and when you hear me talk about education, it'll always be tied to job growth. It'll always be tied to economic vitality in the city. It'll always be tied to what happens in this downtown, the center core. I know there are a bunch of rumors about how I hate the downtown development. It's ridiculous to think that a city can grow without downtown development. Any person that has a rudimentary understanding of cities and a growth and what's going on knows that at the core that there needs to be some growth, that there needs to be some development, that you need to put people on the street. That's why I applaud Prudential for building the towers that are facing the people of the city. Gone are the days when we built buildings that the backs are faced to the city of Newark. So now the fact that what we're saying is that we invite people to be on the streets of our city, that we're proud of our city, that we love our city, and we want you to walk up and down and, by the way, spend some money, right? And help us grow, and help our businesses grow, and help our city grow. But what we're also saying is that we have an opportunity not to be like the rest of the cities in America. Cities, by the way, that are not experiencing the growth that we expect. Cities like New York, cities like Boston, cities that you would expect are experiencing this huge growth. We have to copy the cities that are actually experiencing growth, right? So we have an opportunity not to just do the downtown core, but to transform neighborhoods. That's all I'm saying. There's absolutely, positively nothing wrong with that. We must transform our neighborhoods. It's a must. A transformed neighborhood, a well-educated populace, a more democratically engaged populace means a better city, a safer city, and it means more business for you downtown. That's exactly what it means. Anybody who thinks otherwise is not looking at, doesn't see the picture clear enough. You don't see the picture clear enough, and your ambition isn't big enough to include the rest of us, right? So we want you to be ambitious. We want you to grow. We just want you to recognize that there are hundreds of thousands of other people in the city that want to help, and that you're a part of Newark as well. You're not separate from Newark. This is Newark. And this room is Newark, you know. The business community is here. The philanthropic community is a part of Newark. So anybody who says anything other than that, or says that I believe that, is somebody that's telling you something that they don't know. These are people who don't know me, who've never spoken to me, never had one conversation with me, to tell you that those kinds of things is what I believe, because they're absolutely the opposite of what I believe. I believe that when the downtown develops, that the rest of us need to get our anchor and hook it on to what's going on downtown, and we need to follow suit. And we all need to hang on for the ride and make sure that it's expansive enough. And we can show the rest of the country how to develop a major city, how to improve on the conditions of people that live in every day, how to attack poverty without attacking poor people, teach them how to develop a downtown community, and at the same time simultaneously allow that as an engine for growth in the neighborhoods where we live. So the folks that talked about Newark don't know we have an incredible airport. They don't know we have one of the largest seaports in the nation. They don't know we have 6 universities and 2 great medical institutions. They don't know all of these things. We have a state-of-the-art arena, a wonderful museum, you know, things that most cities don't have. But we have these things in Newark, and we brag about them. We talk about them all the time. But the rest of the world don't know that, because we haven't introduced the rest of the world to them. And it's that is our job to do, to introduce, not only introduce the rest of the world to them, but introduce the residents of Newark to them. Introduce Newarkers to them. And I'm gonna close on this. When I was talking to the chancellor, we talked about universities like Yale. And if you go to, Yale and you see the folks in the city surrounding that community, there are people with hoodies on and jackets on and shorts and sweatpants that say Yale University, never stepped foot on the campus. They have a pride for the university because the university is marketed to the people of that community. I told him when I was a kid at University High School, I didn't know anyone my age or older than me in my immediate circle that attended Rutgers Newark, NJIT, or any of these institutions. There was no natural market. They couldn't sell the university to me because those things didn't exist. Those people weren't around me, right? So the people in this city, students, when they become high school students, when they begin to fill out college applications, just like when you're in Indiana, you know where you're going to school, right? When you become a high school senior, in your mind, you should be saying, I'm going to Rutgers Newark. I'm going to NJIT. Those should be the primary things that you think of first, because the impact that those universities and the imprint that they have on our community has to be that great and that intricate. That we have an opportunity to do that. We have an opportunity to change not just the image, my image, but change the image of all of us here. So the growth of Ras Baraka means the growth of the city of Newark.
All right.
That's exactly what it means. And 5 years ago, 10 years ago, 20 years ago, you probably can find something 15 years ago that I said that you wouldn't have liked, or that you would have cringed, or you said I'm radical. I'm going to tell you, I'm still radical today. So I don't want you to, I'm not a liar, so I'm just going to, I'm still radical today. And I want you to understand that my radicalism is centered around my passion to see our city be a world-class city. That's what it's centered around. We're not just Newark. We're not just Newark, a part of New Jersey. We're not just Newark next to Irvington, Newark next to East Orange. We are a global community here. And as Lonigan pointed out, we have a bunch of nationalities in our city, right? And that, my friends, is the strength of our community, is the strength of our city, right? That we have an international community with a world-class seaport. We have no reason to be in the state of flux that we're in. We should be moving forward, and we should be moving forward together. God bless you. Thank you.